Get ready because things just got wild again, and guess who's right in the middle of it? That's right, Diddy. The internet blew up with rumors that prosecutors dropped the charges against him. People were losing it, acting like he had just moonwalked out of the courtroom in victory. But let's not jump the gun. Before you go picturing him greased up in baby oil and popping champagne, the reality is a lot more complicated. He might be slick, but this case is far from over. Let's dig into what's actually happening. Earlier today, headlines started flying that the prosecution in Diddy's RICO case had dropped serious charges. The whole internet lit up with people screaming, "dismissed" and "case closed," like the man just walked. Even TMZ ran with a misleading headline before quietly editing it once people actually read the fine print. What really happened? Well, they didn't drop the charges, they restructured them. The judge asked for things to be simplified. Apparently, the original charges had too many versions of the same crime, which could confuse the jury, so the prosecution trimmed it down. Instead of saying Diddy attempted arson, they're now saying he straight up committed it. Instead of claiming he tried to kidnap someone, they're saying he did it. They didn't toss the charges out, they just tightened them up. Leaner, cleaner, and easier to follow. But that didn't stop the clickbait from exploding. Suddenly, people were saying the case was falling apart, when in reality, the prosecution just sharpened their focus. And trust, they're not playing around. They are gearing up for a fight. Meanwhile, Diddy's defense team made a move that left everyone gasping. They rested their case without calling a single witness. Not one. Just a few text messages pulled in, and then boom, they were done. Some folks are calling it confidence, others are calling it pure panic. Honestly, it could be both. On the surface, it says, "We're so sure they haven't proven anything, we don't even need to rebut." But when you're dealing with witness testimony, text receipts, drug mule confessions, and alleged hotel bribes, silence looks suspicious. Let's talk about what Diddy is actually facing. This isn't some small-time scandal. This case is stacked with serious allegations. We're talking sex workers transported across state lines for what are being called freak-offs. We're talking illegal drug distribution, bribes to hotels to destroy surveillance footage, and even witness tampering. The evidence is all over the place. Documents, recordings, eyewitness accounts. It's like a Netflix crime doc waiting to happen. And if you've been keeping up with Nate the lawyer, you know he's been breaking this case down like a pro. According to him, for RICO to stick, the prosecution only needs to prove 2 crimes within the bigger conspiracy. Just 2. And they might already have them. First up, transporting sex workers across state lines with illegal intent. That seems like a slam dunk. Second, drug trafficking. Hello, the drug mule testimony and the substances seized say it all. Those 2 alone could get Diddy locked up for a decade. Add in the rest of the charges, and it's not looking good. But here's where things get messy. The sex trafficking charge has people talking, and not everyone agrees the prosecution will win on that front. Why? Because of how hard it is to prove coercion. Was there actual manipulation, force, or deceit involved? Or were these women making calculated decisions in exchange for money and luxury? Cassie, for example, described abuse, but also sent messages that implied she was voluntarily participating in certain events. Jane Doe allegedly had a contract that paid her $10,000 a month. The defense is spinning this as, these were transactional relationships, not trafficking. But here's the flip side. Just because someone's getting paid doesn't mean they're not being abused or coerced. Victims don't always look like what people expect. Trauma can be wrapped in luxury, and Diddy's influence, money, and power make it entirely possible for consent to be compromised. The jury is going to have to wade through all of this. Was it exploitation? Was it manipulation disguised as mutual agreement? Or were these willing participants in something they later regretted? The lines are blurry, and the defense is hoping that ambiguity plants doubt. Still, even if the jury doesn't convict on sex trafficking, the RICO case is likely strong enough to stand on its own. And conspiracy law is wild. Not everyone involved has to know what's going on for the leader to be held responsible. Even if only a few people in Diddy's circle knew the full extent, it's enough. One person doing something illegal to help the group is all it takes. Some thought Diddy would bring in business associates to say they had no clue about any criminal activities. But that would have been pointless. The law doesn't care if someone didn't know. If the actions furthered the goals of the enterprise, it counts. The prosecution understands this. They didn't need extra drama. They let the facts speak for themselves. Now, with closing arguments coming, this is the final act. prosecutors are preparing to walk the jury through every single charge. They're going to map out exactly how each one meets the legal requirements. The defense will argue that the prosecution didn't meet the burden of proof and that Diddy has no case to answer. But the risk is real. All it takes is one juror who thinks this is just a bunch of adults making bad choices. Someone who thinks these women were paid and knew what they were getting into. Someone who buys into the defense's confident silence. That's the wild card. If Nate's right, and let's face it, the man knows his law, then Diddy is in serious trouble. The charges involving interstate transportation and drug activity are nearly airtight. That alone is enough to make the RICO charge stick. The rest of it just adds more weight. Now, people are wondering if Diddy is angling for a deal. Could the prosecution cut him some slack in exchange for a guilty plea? Maybe, but at this point, why would they? The evidence is piled high and public interest is intense. A plea deal would have to come with major concessions, and Diddy doesn't exactly seem like he's ready to grovel. All eyes are on the closing arguments and the jury's reaction. A verdict could come as soon as Monday. If Diddy's convicted, it's not just his empire that falls. It could trigger investigations into others in his circle, opening doors that some in Hollywood would rather keep closed. So stay locked in, because this trial is about more than just one man. It's about whether power still protects predators, and whether the truth can actually cut through the smoke and mirrors of fame and money. If justice is served here, don't be surprised when the ripple effects hit places no one expected. And if you want to keep up with every twist, you know what to do. Stick with us and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.